Hi you guys, this is Allison hanging out in my space to craft, and it is getting toward the end of January, so I need to start thinking about Valentine's card for my daughter. I try and do a special card for her every year. She likes it. I used to do gifts and all sorts of stuff, but I don't know that I'm going to do that this year. We are going to be, I think, going away for the weekend. So I've been thinking about a card, and what I want to do is a shaker card, but that instead of a shaker box that I build and put on a card, I want the card front to have the hole in it with the shakers behind it. So this will be a solid piece just with a hole in it. And then so I think this is about the right size. I didn't want a giant one. I found this really pretty scrap of pink paper, kind of marbled looking. So I think that will be a good mat. And then this will be set up. And then this will also be the back of the hole. So I think that is my basic plan. I have cut this the same size as the card because I think I want to emboss it, which means that I won't be able to stamp directly on it, I don't think, because the embossing would mess that up, I'm pretty sure. So I'm going to have to stamp this and then cut it. So maybe I'll put it here. I don't know. So I may stamp it on. I have this shimmery pink paper I may stamp it on or something like that. So that's my plan for that. I have lots of options for shaker bits. This is all little hearts. I think I'm going to go for that. I was thinking all pink, but I've done the all pink before for her. I also have these cute pink gems, but they're a slightly different color. I think all these multicolored hearts is the answer for this card. So, first step, I'm not going to cut this down until after it's embossed. I just don't know if it's going to shrink up or whatever. So I think that is a safer bet for cutting it. I can go ahead and cut this to size. So, and I will leave a little tiny bit of a white edge there. So this is standard A2, which is 5.5 by 4.25. So I'm going to go in just, I think, 1/8 of an inch from that. This is not tall enough, so I have to go this way. So it's 4.25, and I'm going to go in 1/8 of an inch from that, just to leave a 1/16 of an inch. Make sure that looks correct. And that looks like a nice strip of paper for something. And then this is 5.5, so we're going to come in 1/8 of an inch from that. And that feels like it's catching a little. Might be time for a new blade. Okay, let's just double check the fit before we move on. That looks perfect. So that's that card base. I'm going to cut this hole first. I'm not sure this will fit into my mini. I'm just going to go cut this on my large one, and I want it approximately like the top half. That way I just have room for a sentiment or whatever there. Yeah, definitely up here. I'm going to cut this hole and then I'm going to emboss, and I've picked this Spellbinders embossing. I will also spritz it with a little water before I emboss it, just because this is really thick cardstock and I don't want any tears in it. So I'll be right back. All right, so I've sped up the rest of it, not too much. It didn't take me that long to finish this. So I have the hole cut and I have it embossed, and now it's time to create the shaker part of it. So I am going to trim it down, and I'm trimming this so that it is 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. So still a pretty small border. But because I have that hole in it, I need to sort of keep that hole in the middle. So I can't just do the simple one cut on each side as I would normally with a panel. So I'm just looking at it and just eyeballing, and one side has a little bit more than the other, so I'm going to cut on that. And I was struggling with my blade a bit today. I think it might be getting dull. I need to make sure I have another blade. I think it's time to replace the blade. When I see how I had to go to the top and come down, because I usually swipe to the top and it wasn't cooperating. I'm also struggling with this cutter to get things straight sometimes. For some reason, it can be off quite a bit, and I'm not sure why that happens. I've looked at it. It looks straight. If I double check it, I can make it straight. Anyway, so that's a little bit of a frustration. But I like the layout of the trimmer, but I may have to go back to my Fiskars trimmer maybe and see if that's going to work a little better for me. I do like that it has the wire. But, you know, I'm notorious for cutting crooked on trimmers. So I decided to go ahead and stick the bottom down. And now, because it's a thin piece of paper, so I can't really make the card front separately. So now I'm going to cut a piece of acetate. And I'm going to cut it a little bit larger than I normally would. I wanted to make sure I had plenty of space behind this. So I'm just rough cutting it out. And I'm going to use liquid glue. And I'm going to keep that pretty far away from the opening so that it doesn't smush onto the acetate. And then I need to put dimensional adhesive foam tape on the card. The way I'm going to do this is I need the whole card elevated, this whole card front. Excuse me. However, I also need to make the channel or the little container for the shaker bits. So the top is close enough, the side is close enough, and then I just need to go in and do the side. So I cut it at a wedge. The important thing here is that you don't have openings. And I will tell you that I had a near disaster with this. When I pull off the tape, and you'll probably see it, I had a little bit of a channel here I wanted to block off. I didn't remove part of the tape, and so the shaker bits just flew out, and I had to do surgery to put some of them back in. They didn't all fly out, but a bunch of them did. And so I had to remove the tape. Well, most of it was already taped down, so I had to get some tweezers and remove the tape. And, you know, I was under the desk retrieving them, cursing myself
for being ridiculous. Anyway, but it worked out in the end. I will tell you, I also ended up having to add some liquid glue under one side because I didn't put the adhesive all the way to the very edge. And because of the bulk of this, so you can watch here, because of the bulk of this, it was lifting up a little bit. Now, the other issue I had was I should have made sure all of these things were flat, because some of them were on edge and stuck. I think I've gotten them all unstuck, but that wasn't easy to do afterwards. So I should have really just flattened out that pile a little bit more before I stuck that together. So now I'm going to make the sentiment. Because of the embossing, I didn't want to do the sentiment on the main card base. I'm using my VersaFine Clair ink. I pushed a little too hard on this first one and it looked a little smudgy. So I did a second one and did it lighter, and it came out perfectly. I really do like the VersaFine Clair ink for sentiment stamping. You can also emboss it. I did not do that on this one. And then I'm just going to trim it. And that second one I didn't get perfectly aligned, so I'm having to kind of eyeball the alignment to get it straight in the square. The love didn't matter so much, the word love, but the much was, you could tell if it wasn't straight. So I'm just trimming that up a bit. So I'm going to keep that part really simple. I like the idea of the shaker focus and then everything else, excuse me, being really just simple and elegant, I guess. And that is a Valentine's card. Thanks a lot, you guys. Please give this video a thumbs up and come back for more content.